Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
People were beaten during the elections.
Oh yes, people were beaten. And let me say that we in the NDC condemn all forms of violence. I think that most instructive is the fact that our General Secretary, the Honorable Fifi Kwete, has commented condemning every violence that occurred. Again, the Vice President has also spoken, saying that the NDC, we do not condone violence. I think that more than ever, we have a lot to offer this country, and we have the responsibility as a government to make sure that lives, properties, and peace reign in our country. And let me also say that we condemn, and I made a joke about this on Facebook, that this week the phrase that you hear people use is, we condemn in no uncertain terms. And I also condemn in no uncertain terms the attack on the journalist that occurred in Ablekuma last Friday. Especially, I can recall Joy News reporter and that of GH1. The GH1 reporter was assaulted by a police officer. And for me, it's instructive here to say that even before close of polls or hours after the assault, you saw the police service release a statement interdicting the officer and saying that he will be subjected to internal disciplinary action. So that is very good. And the reason that is very instructive is that it will be a deterrent to other police officers who would probably, in the face of slight provocation or even unprovoked, want to take the law into their own hands. So that is instructive, because the Vice President, as the chairman of the Police Council, is not someone who would sit down and watch journalists being assaulted and, I mean, go the usual way. So we condemn in no uncertain terms. And I want to urge the Ghana Police Service to carry out serious investigation into the assaults that occurred on the journalist. But it's also instructive for us, having condemned all forms of violence, to make a very clear distinction on what happened in Ablekuma. And not to fall for the narrative that the NDC party, and for that matter, this government, has done anything illegal in Ablekuma. First of all, I know that many people, not many people, but some hold the view that the attack or the attacks on Hawa Koomson and one Nana Lloyd, or so, I don't get the right name,
I'll get the name for you.
Are actually sponsored by government and the NDC. I think that this morning, I want to make it clear that the actions or the attack that occurred in Ablekuma North were not occasioned by the NDC as a corporate entity. Neither was it sanctioned by government or caused by government. And so while we condemn the attacks, while we preach peace, while we actually call on all others not to allow passion to engulf them, the point has to be made that the deliberate attempt and misinformation to pin on President Mahama and government what happened would not succeed. And Nani, this is why it will not succeed. First of all, I've heard people, including Akosia Menu on City, say that Hawa Koomson was defending herself, or that she did nothing wrong except to defend herself. I think sometimes we ought to elevate the levels of the discussion, because it's not as if some people are involved in politics and elections and others are not involved. I have had the benefit and opportunity of being in Asin North by-elections or being actively involved. In fact, I was in the engine room. And so we monitored elections. In the 2024 elections, I monitored the elections in St. George's constituency. Annie, by the time you leave the house and you get to the polling station, you would not even in your reasonable contemplation want to carry a weapon, because at the time of people voting, it is largely peaceful, so that even police officers who are licensed to carry weapons are not allowed to go to the polling stations with weapons. So that point has to be established. To the extent that even police officers who are licensed by law and are mandated and can carry weapons are prevented from taking weapons to the police station, to the polling station.
Was that part of the arrangement? Was that part of the security arrangement?
It was done in 2024. In this election, you did not see police officers wielding guns. There is a reason, so that when passions are inflamed, because nobody is armed, we talk it out. And in monitoring the election, you get to a place where the NDC and the MPP people will not agree, either with the presiding officer or some form of disagreement. When that happens, all the parties who go into an election properly prepared, they have a monitoring system where you will report back. So the question we should be asking is that why would Hawa Koomson think that she's so special, that somehow she's so strong, and she had anticipated that something like this will happen, for which reason she carried a weapon? And I use the word weapon advisedly, because pepper spray is classified as a weapon.
So that method is, I don't know, designed area for the voting. The gate was closed for persons who had no business there, including politicians. Some politicians were given a courtesy to enter. My question or my wonder is whether even politicians who were given courtesy to enter, were they searched before they allowed them to enter?
They normally will not search you. I've monitored elections a number of times. They normally will not search you. So normally when you go, depending on the polling stations, you would talk to maybe the presiding officer.
Because then it makes no sense locking the place out and telling me that. So what if I came and I was holding a gun?
In the first place, you realize that even from the mornings, there were some places that they wanted to vote indoors. And some of the people protested and said that we don't vote indoors, we vote outdoors for a number of reasons. But that's not the case. The point I want to establish is that we ought to ask why a person will leave her house with weapons to a place where even people who are licensed to hold weapons are not allowed to go with weapons. When we find an answer to that question, we can find motive.
No, and you see, but that would be unfair on her.
So let me.
I can leave my house, Beatrice. I can leave my house holding pepper spray. I can leave my house with a gun. Based on history or experience before, I can decide to do that.
That's
just for self-protection. I mean,
so
anticipating anything that can go wrong.
If you allow
because you're going into
if you allow
an election area.
If you allow me to make the point, first of all, Hawa Koomson is not the only MPP stalwart that was there. You had Brian Champon, who I thought was so much of a man for what he perpetrated at Hawa. So this time he was there standing behind Miracles, and I was like, hey, that man
No, but Miracles was no.
Yeah, no. So I thought he would do something.
No,
so
he would do what?
Even Brian Champon was there and very sober and quiet.
Yes, but
I saw,
Beatrice, a party has gone to a place, into a contest.
One
person was speaking for the party. Everybody had to just toe one line.
So they toe, and which is a good thing. So there is nothing wrong with it. So he was there, miracles and other. I saw even Kennedy Japan's video trying to joke with someone that's now or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
A number of people who came there. And so she's not the only person who has to go or who was there, for which reason it would be as if there was something wrong. But what she said is very instructive, that perhaps it is because of a certain history. And that is why she may have carried the weapon. Now, what is the history? This is Hawa Koomson, who in her own constituency is noted for brandishing weapon and shooting live bullets. No consequences. This is Hawa Koomson, who in her own constituency is noted for leading tags to beat people. And I'll give you names. And so going into a polling station, she probably had carried the same, the same motive. There is a gentleman who is also a human being and had blood flowing through him. It's called Ebenezer Tete. Hawa Koomson led tags and they hit the head of the boy with a concrete, and he has sent you those gory images projected on the screen for people to see.
If they are gory, I can't project them.
Oh, they are gory, but they must be able, we can, urge viewer discretion and all that. But that is, Ebenezer Tete also has a family. This is Hawa Koomson, who attacked Tuareg Amadou. And his boys beat Tuareg mercilessly, and Tuareg died. As I speak to you, Tuareg's family members are also human beings. They are dead. This was Hawa Koomson, who led guys to attack Inusa. And just this year, Inusa was amputated. Why? That NDC polling agent died, or Hawa Koomson's life and body is more important than these people. See, we condemn the violence. And nobody should actually be proud because it can happen to anybody. I had even asked her, why is it that when they have to beat, they don't go and beat their fellow men? They are always interested in the women. They should be facing their fellow men to beat them. But the question we should be asking is that because Hawa Koomson knows her history and how violent she has been at polling stations, she needed to protect herself. And you know what she did? And she did not only carry pepper spray. She actually went there in the company of a police. So she had a police escort. She didn't go there alone. So if Hawa Koomson...
But these your pictures.
And so if Hawa Koomson was afraid for her life, or she thought she would be attacked, I think that a police escort that she took there...
Unless the team works, just for the records, unless the team works on the pictures, I cannot.
You cannot.
Even with viewer discretion, I can't put it out.
If you think the pictures are too good.
They are too good.
But these are lives of people we are talking about. And so we are saying that the violence against Hawa Koomson is condemnable. But it is important to come from why she did that. And it's because she also has a checkered history. She was not the only former MP there. There were MPs there who had contested elections. Why didn't they carry pepper spray? The question will be, why didn't any of the NPP bigwigs? And you know the funny thing, she even started using the pepper spray. You don't know the terrain.
She saw guys coming on her.
So she thought the guys
from the video, she saw guys coming on her. If I am standing anywhere and I see anybody approaching, anything I have, I'll use.
The video I saw, I didn't see boys coming on. I saw, maybe you can show, I saw from this angle, where, not this, but earlier, you could see that there was someone in a white...
Okay, give us another angle of the videos, yeah.
The video I saw, so maybe you can help us.
Of the guy who flew.
And so she has her own checkered history. She knows what, and if I were her, a polling station is the last place I'll go, knowing that that is my history.
No, but you see, all these things we're saying about Hawa Koomson, as I sit here as a journalist, I cannot even agree with you, and you're a lawyer, because courts has found her guilty. They are all allegations.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you that no court has found her guilty. But I'm saying that I use these examples to perhaps impute motive why she would want to carry a weapon to a polling station. And especially when she's not the only MPP person there. Assuming she was the only person there, then we can say that. But let me also make the point that while we condemn the attacks on Hawa Koomson, the MPP are the last people anybody will take moral lessons from. We are told in church that if ever we want to take moral lessons, we should not go to the brothel. So the NPP are the last people who will take moral lessons. Let me give you one, or let me give you 3 reasons why. The first one is Ayawaso West Wogon. When a certain member of parliament was molested, manhandled, to the extent that he was even slapped. In fact, it was the first time we were seeing like a member of parliament or a prominent figure in society molested that way. And Annie, the distinction has to be made that in the Ayawaso West Wogon issue, it was state-sponsored. These were people who claimed they work with national security. In fact, in the testimony of Double, he says he used to be a phone repairer. He was picked, given 3 months training, and was asked to come and cause this mayhem. What did we see MPP bigwigs do? I mean, while we called for calm, while we were saying that governments ought to condemn the violence, while we were saying that government ought not to use national security to perpetrate those acts of violence, do you know what they did? Some of them took to social media, making fun of Sam George. This morning, I have here Facebook posts by some of the MPP bigwigs, including Akosua Menu seated here, quoting Sam George and laughing. And so I can read some of the quotes. Quotes, I run as fast as my legs will carry my bulky frame. Hey, Sam George. Then she laughs. Then she comes to another one, praising Ma Lydia and saying that whatever they did was good. And then she comes to laugh at Sam George again. You record a man in his own office. You record a man in his own office. Hey, whose voice is this? Then she laughs. At the time when government used state-sponsored, national security to maim people were shot.
The government used national security.
They were national security operative. I have here with me the government.
The committee.
Yes.
Okay, the committee gave us.
I have here with me the government's white paper and the committee's recommendation. Those operations, government says that were legitimate government or national security operations. Go to page 23 of government's white paper on compensation, point 1, and I read. The government in principle accepts the commission recommendations in paragraph 9.1 on page 59 of the report on the basis that the injured persons were unfortunately caught up in a legitimate national security operations. That's what the government says. That
was the wording.
Yes. If the cameras can capture it, I've boldened it. And so what happened at Ayawaso, where people were shot, killed, maimed, we said that let not encourage people. And you know what? In all these, while we condemn the violence, I'm happy nobody was shot. I'm happy nobody died. I'm happy nobody was maimed. Because in talking about Ghana's democracy, we should not even in any way be having a discussion this morning. I would have laughed that the discussion this morning would have been that the NDC had 184 seats, or clear two-thirds majority. I would have laughed that the discussion would be that what are the things the NDC can do with the two-thirds majority, and then we enrich our democracy. And so when other people give us feedback and say that this is bad, we hear them and we accept the feedback. We take those feedbacks in good faith. But I also want to assure the good people of Ghana that this is not state-sponsored. The government, the vice president, who is the chairman of the police council, did not sanction this. It is not state-sponsored. The people were identified in the videos are not NDC members. You know what I was thinking at a point? I was even thinking that the people who beat our Koomson could be NPP people. You know why? Because there are conflicting reports from the NPP. A group of people believe that they should contest the election. A group of people believe that they should not contest. They have their own internal wranglings and issues. So how are we able to know whether those people who assaulted Hawa Koomson are not NPP people? And on this note, I want to urge the police to conduct a very thorough investigation. But having said that, Hawa Koomson must know that even in court, it is on first-come, first basis. And so while we urge the Ghana police to do some of these investigations, we also urge them that the 8 people who died during the elections, they would also pay attention to them. And although I get scared and sometimes I get terrified about the 8 people, among the 8 people was a young girl that was shot in Sablugu. I mean, you can imagine me growing up and being shot merely because of somebody's recklessness. Will I have been sitting on Good Morning Ghana this morning? That is the life the NPP cut short. Where you had military men in Techiman, South, open fire, live bullets in citizens. We will never experience that under President Mahama. That I can give you the assurance that as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, with the Vice President being the Chairman of the Police Council, you would not see state-sponsored attacks on citizens, whether you are MPP, you are CPP, you are DPP, or whatsoever and howsoever described. So that assurance we want to give the people of Ghana. And then I hear the people who defended invisible forces, who went to practically attack a pregnant judge, and nothing happened, and the AG entered the nolle prosequi, say that, you know what, this is so bad. I agree that it is so bad. But can they please keep quiet and let the people who spoke against it yesterday speak against it now? Then we will not say that they are being hypocritical. For the people who mocked Sam George, for the people who mocked people who were killed, maimed, and said that, you remember what the first deputy speaker said? That what do you mean that people were killed if criminals were shot? These were the words of the leading members of the MPP at the time these things were happening. Have you ever heard anybody in NDC say that Hawa Koomson is a criminal, for which reason she should be beaten?
Well, but
no.
but we also Dr. Hannah Bissio, who obviously she was a victim, so she felt.
She said, this is what she said. She said, I will not lie to you. Although what happened was bad, I don't feel bad because I was a victim. There is nothing wrong with that. People are allowed to have their relapses.
Oh, so she first condemned.
Yes.
And then she said she doesn't feel bad.
See, nobody is saying that Hawa Koomson was beaten and so she should have even been beaten enough. Nobody is saying that. We are saying that that act of violence is condemnable. The point of departure is that, first of all, that was not orchestrated by the NDC or government. Secondly, that distinction has to be made. But she went there because she has her own checkered history. And so while we will take the feedback, while we appreciate the concerns of people, I want to say that the NPP should keep quiet, because you cannot all of a sudden begin to have conscience because you are in opposition. You cannot all of a sudden begin to say that what is right in the past is so wrong now, when not even 1%. And let me say that this is not a revenge on Hawa Koomson or anybody, because if it was a revenge, what are you talking about? Does this look like a revenge to you?
What would you have done?
When the revenge comes.
A revenge
this is not a revenge. This was civilians. Like, a man or some people and Hawa. These were two civilians, and you could see how the police were even giving her the protection she needed. To the extent that Mustafa Gbande even said that when
what
it occurred, these were some of the victims of the Ayawaso West by-election when they visited President Muhammad.
Okay.
You know, to the extent that Mustafa Gbande even said that when Hawa Koomson was assaulted, he quickly prompted the driver, take her to the hospital. Does it look to you like any NDC big man or big woman is interested in assaulting an MPP person? No. But I mean, having said that, let me conclude by saying that the NDC is offering so much to the people of Ghana. The NDC is stabilizing the exchange rate. The story is not that the dollar is appreciating and the cedi is depreciating. Today, in our lexicon in Ghana, we say that the cedi is appreciating. Businessmen are happy. The market women, prices of goods are reducing. Fuel prices are coming down. Iron rods and many things that used to be something that was stifling us, and even that we were told to be grateful, because if it was the NDC, it would have been worse.
Okay.
So let me conclude. Today is getting better. So we have more to give to this nation.
Okay.
And we can only give to this nation when it is peaceful.
Okay.
We urge our members to be peaceful. We urge the MPP not to be taking conflicting stance in elections. If their leadership is weak, they ought to be addressing it, because at a certain point in time, I was asking, so General Secretary says don't go. Then other members are there. So who is who in MPP? We in the NDC have strong leadership, backed by a very strong and
please don't give me any picture that will spoil people's morning this morning. I beg you.
Backed by a very
blare
strong
the pictures
government.
if they are bloody. Please blare them.
Backed by a very strong government. We are focused on delivering the mandate. We are focused on making the lives of people better. And we say that we do not want violence to be part.
Okay.
We didn't need that seat at all costs.
Okay.
We didn't need it at all costs.
Okay.
But we are a political party who believe we must win every election as long as the people will give us the mandate. And so on that note, thank you to the people of Ablekuma North for saying that for a very long time. They think that the NDC is a political party that will bring them the needed development.
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase. Now so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.